Welcome to the Q series on the Sixth Suite. I'm Nikki Stone, here with Claire Ravenstreet, and for this special run, we're coming to you straight from Cannes.
Usually, we're unpacking the architecture of business and media, but this week, things are moving fast. We're cutting through the noise of the Croisette to bring you exactly what you need to know.
We're dropping a special Cannes wrap-up of the highest signal insights, biggest shifts, and straight talk from the ground.
You won't want to miss a beat. Hit subscribe and follow right now so the latest intel lands directly in your feed.
And while we're here celebrating the peak of the industry, we're also dedicating this series to the people who build it. That's why we're proudly raising awareness for NABS, the National Advertising Benevolence Society.
NABS is the vital safety net for Canadian media and advertising professionals, providing everything from financial assistance to mental wellness support when our community needs it most.
We've linked them in the show notes below, so please take a minute to learn more and support their mission. Thank you so much for hosting us. Can we get you to give a quick introduction?
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm Matty Beckerman. I'm the CEO and founder of IR Code. And IR Code stands for Image Recognition Code. And we're hoping to replace QR codes, where the image itself is the code. You no longer have to put that ugly, black and white, UPC label. And we have the technology to do it. And we're rolling this out for museums and art and TV networks and just everywhere we can.
Just wait for next year's Cannes collab, because we were trying to solve that problem this year. And I am the most excited for what it means next year. Now that we've found you and I know that you exist and you're in our ethos, very excited for that. I immediately started, and I'm going to say it, nerding out over what you guys were doing, because this was an actual issue that we were trying to solve for. And I loved that not only were you able to solve for that with connectivity, but you were also able to solve for that without connectivity.
Yeah.
And explain, please, for just a moment.
Yeah. So when you have a large group of people in one place, like a stadium or a museum, oftentimes you'll lose cell signal.
Or if you're in Cannes,
and
the infrastructure is hundreds of years old.
Yes, and things just don't work. So we've been able to figure out how to do this on the device, on the phone, without cell signal, completely Wi-Fi free. So a very small packet of information is actually loaded onto the phone. We actually have a vector database that works on the device itself. And it's so small and takes up so little room. And our engineers are brilliant. Philip Holtschneider and Andreas Lay, who are my computer vision engineers, really came up with this and built it. So that's just one piece, but we also have this
So can we just pause for a second? Sure. Because we have said repeatedly on the Sixth Suite over and over that when you find that friction that everyone else is just no, that's the problem, that is actually your $1 billion idea. Cool. And lean into that moment, because to me that was, you actually didn't just solve the problem, you solved the problem.
Yeah. It's cool. We call them emergency inventions, and we've patented a lot of things based on, oh man, this is broken, how do we fix it?
Yes.
And that was a big issue. You go to a big stadium and everybody's pulling out their phone at the same time. I mean, Instagram won't work, Snapchat won't work, TikTok won't work. Ours will, which is cool. It's we figured out how to, get past that part.
I super love that. Continue on, because there was so much more than that about the technology that is impressive, from its ability to take in real life moments and actually capture them right through sales. So as a former chief commerce officer and a guaranteed performance outcomes nerd, I live and breathe ROI for fun. And that to me was if the rest of it wasn't the aha moments, this to me was the chef's kiss of.
Yeah, so we're the only technology that can do image recognition for video and moving images, and so that was part of our patent. It's it's that powerful. So when you point your lens at a TV screen, you can get all the information from it. So we were like, okay, we know we can do that when the video's on, but how do you program live sports as they're happening in real time? And then how do you figure out how to program to that and like what's coming on? So we actually, this is wild. So we had to take a stream directly from the broadcaster, ingest it into our system. And we did this with like, just an over-the-air antenna, and plugged it in because it was like the fastest point of being able to get information. And then we were able to live program, just like if you're watching a sporting event, there's like lower thirds at the bottom of the screen, the score and the stats. So we created almost
we advertising industry folks know lower thirds.
Yes, sorry, I have to explain it every now and then. But so our programming comes up as almost a lower thirds programming, like you do it in real time. And then when we would have the schedule ahead of time, we kind of knew what would come up, and they could program to it. But then every single scene change of live news, live broadcast, we're now making scannable. So with our technology, we rolled this out. We started with an NBC affiliate in Salt Lake City. It's called KSL. They have 400,000 users on their KSL News app. We built our lens technology into their app. The entire broadcast is now scannable from start to finish. I mean, talking every commercial, every ad on TV, but every sports broadcast, the entire NBC universe.
What a piece of infrastructure! If you think about value to the to their customer from a broadcaster standpoint, being the advertisers, and then the trickle down to that. What an incredible investment that you could make into your technology to give that as an advantage to those advertisers on your station because of the direct engagement that they can have straight to consumers. And what a great way that you can then take a mass reach medium, which historically we have not been able to do direct sales attributions to, right? And actually be able to tie in direct sales attribution, right? It's a real, I did a keynote with Amazon a couple of years ago, and we called it the couch to cart, because that's what we were trying to measure through search and all of these other measurable KPIs that we were able to then predict. But this is like even further up the stream in that KPI measurability.
Yeah, the measurability is a big deal. I mean, look, you're measuring attribution today, you put it up and you hope that somebody reacts to it. Okay, they went into the store, to go buy that product. It was like trying to track that is almost impossible. So when somebody takes the intent of lifting their phone camera up to scan the television, you're capturing that bottom end of the funnel.
Not only attention, but the attention signal drives the intention, which is the true chef's kiss moment.
Yes. So we have something that no one else has, and we can do it over the air, right? So it doesn't have to be a connected television. It could be, linear or non-linear, like CTV, non-CTV. It's purely the broadcast itself is the code. So there's nothing you have to overlay. There's nothing you have to change about the broadcast. There's nothing you have to alter. So anyone can do this just simply by lifting their lens up and scanning the screen. And so that gives us, and the advertiser for the first time has real attribution data, actual intent. Whereas attribution data previously was like a guess.
I know that anyone watching this right now, because they are a Sixer fan and are nerding out in the best possible ways, right? Because this is the type of stuff that we legitimately talk about as the value of when you nail all of those things correctly, of how that attribution can come together.
Yeah. What's even the funnest part for us, seeing it in the real world, well, it's always cool when you've thought about something for so long and created it, and now you see people using it. We thought it would be a really low adoption rate. How do we do this? We're seeing a 30 to 35% click-through rate, which is It's crazy. And
My
by the way,
heart
it's
just
only the
goes-
first like month or so of this actually out there doing it on an actual TV network. But we're seeing real adoption, really like people doing this in a major way.
So we're launching a new series called Nikki Predicts, and that's a section off of our In the News section that we do on the podcast. And Nikki Predicts is right here going to tell you that if I don't see that adopted into mainstream this time next year, I will be re-airing this right here with you next year to be like, did we do it? Did we make it here?
That would be fun to do.
Because I think that if I were to say that if I had a prediction that we would find that adoption really quickly, and like I said, I look forward to finding ways to collaborate on that with next year's unicorn if she shows up. I have just one last question for you, if you will appease me so much for our Sixers. We ask this to every founder that we interview in the suite, and that is not for health, not for wealth, not for business, but just for life. If you had one piece of life advice that you could share with the Sixers today, what would that be?
It's really scary being a founder of a company. One, you're risking everything because you are putting yourself out there in the biggest way as a leader. And I mean, you talk about like financially scary. There's zero stability in it. There's no, but if you have this vision and this goal of doing it, what gives me solace is like I've built companies repeatedly from the ground. And I start off with this idea,
Same.
and then I have to sell other people into that idea, and like just be relentless about it. And like eventually, you have other people who like enter your orbit and your gravity, and you'll have a lot of people who tell you you can't do that. Are you crazy? Don't do this. And a lot of lawyers will tell you that. If I listened to my lawyers, I'd never leave my house. But the solid foundation of being able to fail, and it's okay, and learning from those failures along the way and pivoting.
We love a good failure.
Pivoting and moving in a different direction, and not being afraid to do that at a moment's notice. You have to pivot. You have to move quickly, and don't be afraid if like one concept that you have doesn't work. And you find like the actual good part of that, and then it comes down to like, I know that if I lost everything today, that I could move back into a one-bedroom apartment with my wife and my daughters and build it up.
Did you start in a one-bedroom apartment?
I did.
Same. I grew up quite poor, so my husband and I talk about this all the time. And having exactly that, what you said, and that belief, and that knowing of yourself that you've had to do it. I remember when I left the corporate world for good, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and I had strolled downstairs. I didn't even get all the way downstairs. I got halfway down the stairs, and my husband was sitting at the table across the room, and I looked at him, and we locked eyes, and I said, I think I'm going to quit tomorrow. And he was like, cool.
That's terrifying.
And I turned around and I walked back upstairs and I wrote a 7-page offboarding document of like everything, every question I could think of, every team member, every account, every whatever, and I sent it in, and I was like, it's time. It's my time. I gotta go on my own now. I've been half in on my own for so long, with like really fun things that I super love that have set me up for this part of my life, like the vacation rentals and all of the things that I wanted to do in order so when I got to this phase, I could.
Yeah.
And then I think sometimes we forget to go and do that part and take that leap of faith in yourself, because you do have, at least now, the experience, you do have all of that stuff, and you could go back and do it all over again. And the thing is the one thing no one can take away from you is the experience and the knowledge that you've accumulated over those years. So you're going to do it faster, better, and smarter the next time around anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I probably built like 20 companies. I mean, it started off in my dorm room with a record label of the band that I was in. So it was...
I loved this story. When you told me this, it was the ultimate, like, unconventional move that I loved. Can you tell it?
Yeah, man.
And then we'll wrap.
Yeah. No, I played guitar in a band. We were kind of touring all over. And they're like my closest friends. I got into school, so I moved away. The band continued. They changed the name of the band. And they were I guess it was fear of missing out before that was a cool thing to say. So I started a label in my dorm room at Tulane, started putting out records, and I put out our first record. That band became the Dillinger Escape Plan, which then ended up, selling, hundreds of thousands of records. And now, they're still touring today, and
I like fact checked all of this after you told me. I was like on the phone looking up. I was like, this is the coolest.
Yeah, look, we grew up. We were 16, 17 years old. I remember the first tour. We had to siphon gas to get to the next place. We didn't have money. We were so broke. It was how do you go on tour? We 8 of us jammed in the back of my friend's van, and we're going from place to place. Anyways, then I built the label. So the label, then I signed 25 more acts, and eventually I sold the whole thing to another major label. I found another band that I managed for a little while in the very early days called Breaking Benjamin. Got them to deal with Hollywood Records, and they sold 20 million records.
Oh my gosh.
And then I went to make movies. So I don't know, I have this crazy career of rebuilding myself from the ground up and starting over. And that's going back to the original point, which is it's really scary. But there was this great quote from actually Jim Carrey, which is like his father worked forever as I think an insurance salesman, and he ended up getting fired from his job after 10 years or whatever. And the quote was, "You can fail at something you hate doing." Right? So if you fail at something you hate doing, why do it?
Why do it?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay. You don't have to be great at everything.
Yeah, so might as well fail at something you love doing.
Yeah. Well,
At least with my
friend,
standpoint.
thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us today.
If you pulled value from this quick hit, we want to hear from you.
This entire series is about showing where business is going and dropping life advice genuinely worth sharing. If today's wrap-up gave you a new perspective, send this episode to 3 people you want to see succeed.
And we want to keep the conversation going in the comments, so drop your absolute best piece of life advice below. What's the one rule that you operate by?
Subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll see you for the next Can Dispatch on the 6th week.